Journalist and writer Nicholas Bauer is my next guest this morning to talk about his debut book offering, Great Johannesburg. I have it right here. It's actually quite a nice cover. It is a journey through the genesis of the city when gold sparked a fever and saw it become a hive of industry migration as well as exploitation, to its modern-day travails that have scarred its buildings and its people. Yet inside its streets, the city's heart still beats strongly, and this book provides some insights into the possibilities for what Johannesburg can still become. Nicholas, good morning to you, and it's lovely to be able to talk to you. I know you're joining us from, I think you're in Ireland. Which city are you in this morning?
I'm actually joining you from Kilkenny, just enjoying a little bit of the European summer and visiting my nephew, some family. But doesn't mean that my gaze is any further away from South Africa and indeed Johannesburg. It's been such a great journey writing this book, and of course also telling the story of the city of gold. Yeah. I've had this book in me for a long time as a born, bred, buttered, corrupted Joburger, man.
So, you know, reading through it and just paging across, Nikki, it was important to see where the city is now in relation to how it was created and its very storied journey into the city of Johannesburg as it is now. There are some of the essential histories that you wanted to showcase, and maybe just pick on a few of those themes that had its genesis in a time where the city was becoming foundational to, you kind of make this arc between what it was then now and what it is, what it was then and what it is now.
Well, yes, man. I mean, a lot of people look to Johannesburg and say, well, this dodgy hustler's haven that opportunity and tragedy live side by side. But I mean, Johannesburg has always had a very similar story in history, right from its founding in the end of the 19th century. Johannesburg really exploded onto the scene with the discovery of gold, and with only two decades, what was just really dry bushveld became a bustling city that outpaced Cape Town, that was already 200 years old. And the reason I've gone all the way back there is that I think in order for us to address the current challenges that the city is facing, we need to go back to where it all began and see how the founding of Johannesburg, how the city has really had its own genesis and its own storyline, how it's contributed to today. I'll focus on a few themes. Mining is, of course, a huge one. We have 40% of all the world's gold in the history of humankind coming out of the earth here in Johannesburg, historically. And now we're faced with the problem of zamazamas, all right? And with the gold price where it is at, and with the unemployment being so high in South Africa, heavy-handed policing is not going to solve the zamazama informal mining crisis. So I argue in the book that, a more practical approach would be to try and dish out artisanal mining licenses, and try and ring-fence the funds that government could get from these artisanal mining licenses to formalize the industry. And it's all of these practical ideas that I have in the book that I'm trying to put forward to Joburgers, to put forward to everyone, to make us realize that, there's nothing wrong with Johannesburg that can't be fixed with what's right. Another great theme is xenophobia, right? I mean, how did Johannesburg, which is really a melting pot of so many different cultures from its very inception, become the bedrock of xenophobia in many ways? And I also argue in the book that, while illegal immigration is a major problem, not only in South Africa, but in Johannesburg specifically, we need to try and be progressive about it and try and find a way for people to formalize their stay, if they can benefit South Africa, if they can benefit the city, if they're already benefiting the city. And then also, be quite strict with people that don't want to regularize their stay and don't want to play ball in terms of legally finding a way to become a Joburger that pays taxes, that is, like any other law-abiding citizen, Iman.
Yeah, because importantly, and to go to this exact issue that you're raising, you make the point in your book that it's not politicians that may save the city, but its residents. Given the many changes that we've seen in the Johannesburg City Council, it's been a revolving door of mayors. We've seen its decline into decay, and some of the horrific stories around hijacked buildings and, the snuffing out of so many lives of people who are just looking for shelter and a place to stay. You again go back into the power of people to take the opportunity for change into their own hands. And I'd like for you to tease out that point for us as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think in many ways Joburgers want our elected officials to save the situation, but I think it's becoming pretty apparent after 8 mayors since 2016 that's not going to happen. The political instability in Johannesburg is pervasive. The political vultures are now circling again for the current mayor, Kabela Gwamanda, that his party El Jamaa has less seats in the Johannesburg Council than he has bodyguards, and I just think that that point right over there speaks to the absurdity of having him as Joburg's #1 citizen. But I mean, more to the point, this book, Great Johannesburg, is about trying to convince Johannesburgers that change is within their grasp. Turning around the city is not going to take one Joburger, but if every single Joburger can try and focus on their own corner of the city and be proactive about the problems that we face, try and find other Joburgers that also want to try and make a difference, not only on your street, but in your community. Try and find the initiatives that are already in action in your corner of Johannesburg, and try and see how you can help. Because I'll give you one example. The Wilds in Johannesburg is a botanical oasis that borders Killarney, Houghton, and indeed Hillbrow. And 10 years ago, that was a no-go area, and it took the efforts and the determination of one man, really, to turn it around. As soon as you'll find, as soon as you take that first step as a Joburger to try and turn around your corner of the city, you'll soon be joined by other Joburgers who want to walk shoulder to shoulder with you to try and turn around parts of the city that are not only no-go areas, but also to try and address some of what seems like the most intractable problems that the city is facing.
And I've walked there. It is really pretty. It really is beautiful. So much potential with all of these slightly dusty gems that once, burnished and polished by those who care can really provide a haven, inside spaces like Berea, and Johannesburg, and Berea and Hillbrow and so on. So a little known fact, Nikki, is that you, and I'm calling you Nikki, sorry, Nicholas and I, of course, did work together in a previous incarnation on another platform a long time ago, but I know that Nicholas has also lived in, and I'm not sure if you still live there, Nicholas, in the once glorious Ponty City. It was a once iconic skyscraper, then the tallest residential building on the continent, located in Berea. We know it's a shadow of its former self. How did that influence how you think about the city? We know that you've been involved as well in a lot of social entrepreneurship projects. Lala and Jay, I think, is 12 years old now. How did all of this inform how you think about the city and why you champion it now?
Well, I moved into Ponty, that really, in many Joburgers' eyes, that den of iniquity that really has no salvation whatsoever. I moved in there in 2012 after doing a story for the Mail and Guardian, and ended up living there for 5 years and co-founding a fantastic organization, social enterprise called Lala and Jay. And I mean, the heart of the matter, Iman, is that if you can turn around a place like Ponty and turn it into what is essentially a tourist attraction now. We've taken over 30,000 people on tours, not only through the building, but around that part of Johannesburg, Hillbrow, Berea, Yeoville, and provided opportunities for the youth in the area. As a social enterprise, all of the money that gets raised from those tours goes to the running of 2 community centers at the base of Ponty. And Iman, I realized that if we can turn around something like Ponty, which was Africa's first vertical urban slum, and turn it around not only from a physical point of view, but also in the minds of Johannesburgers. That's half the battle in terms of turning around the city. We need to start with a mindset change that it can be rescued, that Johannesburg is great. The gold may be gone, but like you said earlier on, if there is something that's going to save this city, it is the people of Johannesburg. Joburgers are going to save the city.